easily. There's even enemies that have come against me that I've never even met before. So, needless to say, I have never done anything to any of these people but been kind, been extremely forgiving. Even when they stole it from me, I've been forgiving. I don't owe anybody any money from my former drug addiction. I don't, I paid for these people to party and stuff and everything. And yet, despite all that, that means nothing. Because they were sent, literally, to disturb, to perpetuate lies, to secretly videotape me in compromising positions that I put myself in. I'll take responsibility for that. But to distort the reality to fit the narrative that they were trying to perpetuate onto me, that I was this evil, horrendous person out spreading, sexual diseases, knowingly so, and, all of these just horrendous lies. I even think they probably accused me of being a child molester, so sexual predator, just, all kinds of crazy things. The crime the crime I am guilty of and I take responsibility for is, yes, I had a bad drug problem. I've had a bad drug problem for a long time. But even in the deepest despairs of my drug addiction, I did not steal from people. I did not wish harm on anyone. I mean, it was the exact opposite. I was kind, and they took advantage of my kindness, of course. Which, is what self-centered drug addicts do. I was actually a pretty functional drug addict. As much as that, well, I mean, I was. I worked and had a job. I usually maintained a job. I didn't, I can't say I always did, but I tried not to do drugs while I was working, or be high while I was working. So I tried to be as ethical as possible of a drug addict, if that makes any sense. But despite all that, which is a lot more than I could say for most of these other people, because most of them don't even work, have no intention of working. They just feed off of other people and use other people and, blame their drug problems on other people, and they're always the victim and all that kind of stuff. I tried to be I tried to be the best person I could be being a drug addict, but regardless of all that, it's really irrelevant. These people just told flat out lies about me, especially, and this all is centered around two particular people, one of which I was in a relationship with. I have not talked to him in over a year and almost a year and a half, going on a year and a half now. I cut this relationship off with him after he disrespected me so many times, and I forgave him multiple times for this, made excuses for him, and all kinds of stuff. And of course, they always mistake our kindness for weakness, and I'm not a weak person, by no means. Now, my addiction, it certainly drugged me, into low self-esteem and low self-confidence and that kind of thing. Those were my battles to fight, though. But they weaponized them against me. So, that was the goal, is to just totally diminish my light and bring me into their low ass level of darkness. And thank God that I had God. Even in my darkest moments, He was always there with me. He never abandoned me. He did not give me over to the devil. Even when I was trying to give myself over to the devil, He would not let me do that. And, it's hard to fight to retain your morality and your light when you are just totally surrounded by nothing but darkness that wants your destruction, literally, and is actively pursuing that goal. But in God's grace, though, He just would not give up on me. And that spark, that light, it certainly, there were times in my life that it was reduced down to just a flicker, probably, but it never went out. And these people, they hate that. They hate that misery loves company. Okay, there's a reason. I know that's a cliche, but it is so fucking true. It does. And they want you lower than them, and what misery loves company means is basically, they know that they have already succumbed to the darkness, and they want to drag everybody else down to their level, and that way they can hide, and say, oh, that person's worse than me, whatever, my drug addiction was a matter of shame for me. It kept me in a state of shame. I couldn't look people in the eye most of the time. People in the real world that weren't in these drug circles. And, it was just very hard to hold on to your morality a lot of times. But I was not going to succumb to letting this addiction just totally drag me under, and I just wasn't going to do it, and God was not going to let me do it. So, thank you, Lord, man. He always has our best interest. He's never going to abandon you. If He doesn't abandon me, an IV using drug addict, okay, He's not going to abandon you either. So, don't forget that. You're never too dark to turn to the light, ever. Okay, I have so much to say to the world about all this, and this story spans 2 decades of my life at least, if not 3. So it's a saga, and I'm gonna try to, it's really hard to pick one subject and stick to it, especially because, drugs have done a number on my brain, and, I kind of have ADHD now and all that kind of stuff, so it's hard to stay focused. But if you will have patience with me, I'm gonna do a whole life review of my life and walk you through how God has always been right beside me and never, ever abandoned me. In my worst moments, never abandoned me. And when I've called on Him, He has shown up every single time. So now that that's all behind us, we're going to restore faith and hope in this world. That is my mission now. He has made sure that I am well aware of what my mission in life is. and I embrace it fully. I honor him. I honor this darkness that he has pulled me out of and restored me to the full, complete person that I always knew was underneath all those layers. He knew it, even when I didn't. And he dug me out of so many holes to make me full and give me power and authority to do this. And I take this on with honor and love, respect, compassion, kindness. I have alchemized all of my pain into beauty, power, and confidence. That's what he will do for you too. He will do it for all his children. So stick with me, subscribe to this channel, and there's a big story about to explode, probably in the next few days, maybe next week. That's divine timing, that's on him. But it's going to shock you. It's going to prove to the world that there really is a God, and how good he is, and how much he wants to save mankind from the darkness that we find ourselves enveloped in this world. So stick around. Things are going to get very interesting. We're talking Netflix series material here, okay? So you're not even going to be watching Netflix, trust me, when all of this shit gets revealed. It's like it's a series. It's going to be multi-episodes, okay? So hang in there and wait till you see the blessings he's about to release into my life. He's going to restore everything that has been taken from me tenfold, 20-fold, maybe more than that. I feel his love all around me, and he lives in my heart now. So watch the beauty of his restoration in this former broken person's life. Watch it unfold. Love you all, okay? Please hang in there. I know the darkness you may be dealing with. I know the darkness you may be going through. And I am here for you. Do not forget that. So is he. Pray. That is number one. And be grateful. Say your gratitude prayer every morning. And that's all he asks for you to get started. The starter kit is that simple. Okay? Okay. So stay tuned. More drama to come. Alright, thanks. Bye.